Good afternoon, everyone. For the last 2 years, I've been living a lie. So, during my sophomore year of college, I found out about the 1767 milestones. You can find the article on Wikipedia. And basically trekked across all Massachusetts to look for as many of the remaining ones as possible. Now, the story goes that in the year 1767, Benjamin Franklin, who was postmaster, decreed for milestones to be placed between New York and Boston to determine the mileage to get there, to determine postage rates, and to guide travelers as well. Turns out there is no concrete evidence to support that.
So here's an article from the New England Historical Society. The Boston Post wrote historical markers that get the facts wrong. First off, it points out fake historical markers. And in this paragraph, it says how there's one milestone that says 35 miles to Boston, and right near it, there's another one that says 43 miles to Boston. So that doesn't make sense. And then it explains the Benjamin Franklin myth. The myth lives on that Benjamin Franklin either set out or ordered the Boston Post Road milestones. And here it says the whole story. Franklin supposedly rode the post road in a carriage, measuring out the miles in a homemade odometer, and ordering his assistants to place stones. Yada, yada, yada. It never happened. Now, the real story. So once and for all, the record was set straight by the editor of the Benjamin Franklin papers from Yale University. And he says, milestones were of no particular use to the postal service, for the post riders were thoroughly familiar with the roads that they traveled. The convenience of other travelers, on the other hand, was not the post office's responsibility or concern. There seems to have been no good reason why Benjamin Franklin should have spent time, energy, or post office money in erecting milestones, and there's no documentary evidence that he ever did. And if that's not enough, there's this book that is a very specific and thoroughly researched account of the milestones and guideposts of Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire. And here it has a little section. Did Franklin set up the milestones? And it mentions the editor from Yale that we talked about before. And it concludes with, currently there are no period documents which connect Benjamin Franklin to any milestones. In fact, the earliest references in the 1866 newspaper article published 100 years later. Most of the upper post road in Massachusetts was surveyed by Francis Miller in 1765, which would have been unnecessary if Franklin would have done so in 1763.
Meaning that my life for the past 2 years has been a lie. Oh. You know what? Benjamin Franklin or no Benjamin Franklin, I don't care, because I may have just be the only person on earth who could truly say that I've gone out of my way, out of my studies, during my free time, to only use legs and public buses and transportation to find as many of the remaining 1767 milestones as possible. I don't think anybody else in this planet could say that. And especially what I did a month ago with the Missing Milestones video. I applied something that I've learned to embrace during my recent state walks, and that is the gift of conversation. When I walked across Massachusetts, what was it, 1 year ago? A year and a quarter ago? I didn't really, if at all, go out of my way to talk with the locals. If anything, I just talked with the people who hosted me. A conversation is bound to happen, you know? It's not like where you walk into a diner and you strike up a conversation with the person sitting next to you. No. What I did a month ago with the Missing Milestones, I started having conversations with the locals. They were intrigued that I came from Worcester to these towns, sometimes, in the case of Springfield and Palmer, on the other side of the state, just to see a little stone with a number on it. like the gift of I could make a whole video. I could go on for hours on the gift of conversation. But in this particular instance, I had great conversations with people in a bar in Palmer, people in a religious Christian coffee shop in Springfield, or else a farmer in Southborough, just to name a few. But in essence, those are conversations that never get experienced again. I will likely never run into those people again. And those are conversations that you remember. You remember because you think of the town, you think of the conversation. Yeah, I could go. I could go on forever. I could make another video about this. But yeah, I have lived a lie, but goddamn, did I live an adventure. Well, that was a nice little, not a rant, but I converted the rant into a bright side. But anyways, I'm hungry. I'm gonna head out to dinner. So have a good one. Take care. Kick ass.